Do you enjoy drinking a great tasting Indian Pale Ale? Come along with me and I'll show you how to make Coopers IPA quick and easy. Let's go. Hey guys, Musa here from Quantum Home Improvements and Solutions. Welcome back to the channel. And so today I'm going to show you how to make Coopers IPA, Indian Pale Ale. And so Thomas Cooper himself started brewing in 1862, and on May the 13th of that year, he entered into his brew log calling this Batch A, which is a slightly heavier ale and with a fruity citrus taste and with a hop-filled bitter finish. And so I've been brewing for 15 years and I find it very, very easy, and I'm sure you will too. And so if you're interested, I will put a link below for the Coopers Homebrew Kit. So the first thing we need to do is put this syrup in boiling water for around about 20 minutes to soften it so we can put the brew together. And just up the top here, there's a little lip. You just pull that and take the lid off and you'll see there the yeast. So just pull that yeast off and we'll leave it for later. And also on the back here, there's a little section that you peel off. So just grab that. Okay, so just peel that off. Now these are your instructions, but I'm going to show you step by step how to put this brew together, but this is your reference. So while the syrup is softening, I'm going to sterilize and sanitize the fermenter using a two-part system. First, I'll use a chlorinated trisodium phosphate, which is in hot water, and then wash down everything. And then when it's finished, I'll wash it out in cold water. And then when that's finished, then I'll spray it down with phosphoric acid, which is a food grade and which does not need to be washed down. But please remember, don't use any soap. Okay, so what I'll do first is just take the lid off. This is a three-part system. And then I'll connect the tap just so I can hold some water. Now to put the tap on, you do need to spray a bit of water on that. So don't use any oil. Coopers don't recommend to use oil when you're putting the tap on. So I'll just click that tap in, just give it a bit of a wiggle. Done. And now I'll just put in the chlorinated trisodium phosphate, and you put 1 teaspoon to every litre of water. And so I'm going to be putting 2 litres in, so that's 2 teaspoons. I will put some gloves on too. This is going to get a little hot. And I'll just grab a wipe. Wipe down that container and do it comprehensively. Do it really, really well. Make sure you don't miss anywhere. And be careful with that hot water, you don't burn yourself. Just make sure you wash everything down. And also wash the spoon down. And also give the hydrometer a wash as well. Okay, so now I'll just wash it out in cold water. I'll just let some hot water run through the tap. There we go. Okay, so the next stage is to spray on the phosphoric acid. And so you mix this 30 ml to 1 litre. And so I put it in the spray bottle. This is only half a litre. And I'll just spray the phosphoric acid on. Now when you finish with this, just drain it. You don't wash it back out again. So please note, you don't have to do a 2-part sterilizer sanitizer. I'm just choosing to be very cautious. So most people do actually just use a basic sanitizer, which is Starzan or Sterilizing. They're both very good products and very easy to use. I'm just being thorough. Okay, so now I'll just put the tap back on. So now we're ready to put the mix together. Okay, so I won't open this can all the way. You will need to carry this with a cloth because it will be hot. And I'll also get 2 litres of hot water. Okay, so first I'll just tip in 1.5 litres, just for now. And then I'll pour in the syrup. Okay, so this syrup is pretty thick. So you can see inside here, there's still plenty of syrup. I'm just going to use the remainder of the water and just to dilute that. And so I'll just put the rest in. Okay, and then just give it a swirl. And then just tip the remainder in. So just give that a little bit of a stir, not too much. Okay, so now while it's still hot, you put in the light dry malt. Now this is what Coopers recommend for this particular brew. I'm gonna make exactly the recipe that they have suggested. Now going by the instructions, you can make either 18 litres or 23. Now with the 23 litre, this particular recipe has 3 packets of 500 grams of light dry malt. Now, if you're making 18 litres, you only put in 2 packets. Okay, so I'll just put in the last packet. So be very careful when you are putting it in. Just put it in slowly. Don't go too quick because malt does not dissolve very quickly. So just put a little bit at a time. You can see how that's clogging up really, really quick. Okay, so that's dissolved down pretty well actually, considering how much light dry malt is in there. So now I'll just fill this up to 23 litres. We'll get it to 23 litres. And there we are. One thing to note when making beer, that there are many different types of brews and all brews have different fermenting temperatures to brew at. And so it depends on the yeast that's being used. And this particular brew is supposed to be between 21 to 27 degree. And it's currently sitting at around 25 degrees Celsius. One other thing to note, you can use tap water long as it's good quality drinking water. And I've been using the water here for 10 years and it's always worked out really well. So I know it's fine for me. Okay, so the last thing to do is put the yeast in and then the brew's finished. But before we do that, I'm gonna take a hydrometer reading. It's a very dark beer. So going by Coopers instructions, it shows there that the original gravity should be 1046 if you're making the 23 litre. And there we go, spot on. Excellent. So whatever you do, don't tip this back into the fermenter. Okay, so now we just put in the yeast. Okay, just let it sit on top. Don't stir it in. Okay, so the brew's finished. All we do is just put the third part on and we lock it off with these clips. Done. And so all we do now is let it ferment. Now Coopers recommend that you let it sit for 6 days. I generally let it sit for 8 days. But one thing you do need to do is just check with your hydrometer as you get closer to the mark and make sure that it's stabilized, that it's finished brewing. And so also just check your temperature to make sure that it's sitting in that range 21 to 27 degree. If it's too cold, put a heat pad or a blanket over it. And if it's too hot, put it in a cooler spot. It's now the 8th day and the brew is ready to be bottled, but there is a lot of malt in there and yeast generally doesn't consume all the malt. It's about 70%. The temperature was sitting at 21 degrees for a couple of days and I decided to put it on a heat pad, which is a Morgan heat pad, just to warm it up. So it's currently sitting at 24 degree and has been for a few days now. But the brew is now stabilized. I've checked with the hydrometer, but I will check one more time just to confirm that. This will make a bit of a mess, so it's best to put a towel down. Okay, let's see what we've got here. There we go. Okay, it's definitely stabilized at 1005. And so going by the chart, the original gravity was 1046 for 23 litres. So that was roughly about 5.9 potential alcohol. But then you minus this figure, 1005, which is 0.6. So that makes it roughly a 5.3% beer or alcohol content at this point, but the alcohol level will change after the secondary fermentation in the bottle. I might have a taste of this beer before I throw it out. Wow, that actually has a very nice taste to it, and it is bitter. So I'm looking forward to tasting this in 2.5 months. All right, now I'll get into it and sanitize the bottles. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same 2-part sterilize, sanitize system, but I'm gonna be using this bottle cleaner, which is a great little gadget which I got from Country Brewers. It's actually made in Italy, and it's really a very good tool to have. Makes life a lot easier and cleans the bottles better than I've ever been able to clean before. But the only problem with this product is that the bottles can slip through, and I did actually find a washer from my shed, and now it works really well. Okay, so we'll put the chlorinated trisodium phosphate like we did before. We'll only need 1 litre this time. So just put 1 teaspoon. Okay, so we put 1 litre of hot water in that. So I've let the water sit for a couple of minutes just to cool down a bit. I'll just give it a bit of a stir. And so once I've washed them, I will hang them on this bottle tree. So this bottle tree is brilliant. It is from Morgan's. And again, I'll put a link below for these products. Look at that. That is just brilliant. Look how clean it cleans it. The water gets dirty straight away. This cleans the bottles better than I've ever been able to clean them before. And the great thing about this bottle tree is that the water just drips into this drip tray so it doesn't spill over. So when the bottle is empty, I usually just clean it out, just give it a quick rinse, and then put the lids on and put the bottles away. So I don't use any soap at all. This tree is able to hold 81 bottles. And so I've got it set up with 40 holders at the moment because I have just over 30 bottles here. Okay, so that's complete. And so now I'll wash everything out in cold water and then I'll sanitize everything. Okay, last one. There we go. So the only other thing I've got to do before I bottle is change the caps. Now, it is good to change the caps periodically because the caps lose their seal after a while. So there is a little ring on these caps, and you'll find if you try to take them off the bottles, you can damage the top and it won't seal properly. So I take the rings off prior. Just be careful you don't distort the cap, that's all. And just take these lids out. Okay, we're done with the bottle washer. I'll just put the little bottler on. All right, and away we go. Put a bottle in, turn the tap on. So the way the little bottler works, it's got a little valve on the bottom. So when you pull the bottle up, just touch that valve and it releases the brew into the bottle. So what I usually do is have another bottle ready so I don't have too much leaking out of that little bottler. And you'll find it'll be a little bit frothy just the first couple of times. I'm just gonna let some of that froth through, and there we go. Now if you push too hard on that valve, it slows it down, so you just gotta touch it. So the first about 6 bottles will be a little bit frothy. I forgot to mention that it makes it a bit easier if you take these clips off the lid, just take a bit of pressure off. So we're getting almost to the end of the tap, the base. So I'm gonna have to tilt it in a minute, but I don't want to tilt it too much because you will catch all that soot down the bottom and it will cloud your beer. I won't throw that away though. I'll use that for my tester bottles. So I'll put carbonated drops in these ones and I'll come back to this in a moment. All right, so now we'll put the Coopers carbonated drops and we put 2 per bottle. So you do need to put these lids on tight because if not, they will leak and the air will escape and the beer will be worthless. Okay, so the last one, and then I'll pour the next couple. I'll probably only get 3 more bottles out of this and it will be cloudy. Okay, it's done. All I've got to do now is just clean up. So the Coopers Brew A IPA is now complete and we ended up with just over 30 bottles, which equates to roughly 2.5 cartons of beer. And it's so easy to make and very cost effective. And so this brew can be drank around 3 weeks after brewing, but I personally wait 2.5 months. So all Coopers beers are GMO free, which are genetically modified, organism free, and they have a best after date. And so a habit that I get into when I'm brewing is writing down on the box what brew I've made, what type, and also what date, so you know what you're drinking and when it was brewed. So I will put a link below for all the products that I've used in case you're looking for them. And I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Dee from Country Brew Nepean for all the advice she's given me, and also Frank from Coopers, who's just a fountain of knowledge. You know, I enjoy drinking Coopers beers, especially on a hot day with a group of mates, but it's really important that we all remember to drink responsibly. So that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. And if you have any comments, please leave them below and I will get back to you. And I'd ask if you please consider to subscribe, hit the like button and share this video, and there's many more to come. Thanks guys.